Most of the What Culture staff sort of like wrestling a bit. You know, we've got our own promotion, no big deal. So here on the gaming channel, your boy Ben Potter has already looked at some of the most bizarre unlockable characters in wrestling video games. Shout out to Hoof-Hearted. But I reckon as the guy who doesn't know his Sin Cara from his Cesaro, it's time to cast the net a little wider and look at what the rest of the video gaming world has to offer. We're talking Meat from MK4, Colonel Sanders in Phantasy Star 2, and Kratos as the God of War. So prepare yourselves. I'm Peter from WhatCulture.com and here are 12 ridiculous unlockable video game characters. Number 12, The Hand, Tony Hawk's Underground 2. Skateboarding games rarely take themselves too seriously, and that's partly why we love them so much. From cameos like Spider-Man and Darth Maul in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 and 3 to the distinctly more bizarre slab of meat in Skate 3, things can get very silly very quickly when bonus skaters start appearing. However, on this occasion, I have to give the spot on the list to Tony Hawk's Underground 2 for The Hand. I mean, look at this. It's just as weird as Skate 3's man-sized pork chop, but it's actually been more thoughtfully animated and fills us with fingerboard nostalgia to boot. Irrespective of what you think of the game itself, this is near perfection in bonus skater form. You've got to hand it to them. You've got to hand it to them, right? Number 11, The TOFU Survivor, Resident Evil 2. Resi 2 was a very serious and fairly scary experience for the time, but that didn't stop Capcom icing the cake with some incredibly silly comic relief in the form of a pretty well-hidden unlockable character. After getting an A ranking on every scenario, the player was presented with a special game mode called the TOFU Survivor, which entailed, well, playing as an enormous piece of tofu, armed with a knife. Seriously. And man, it actually works so well. I mean, running around as a big piece of tofu in any video game would be pretty funny whatever the setup, but the fact that the enemies in Resident Evil are literally trying to eat you, it happens to be a more accurate tofu simulator than any game in any other genre could ever hope to be. You just have to pretend that the zombies are vegan. Number 10, the blow-up doll, Saints Row the Third. Yes, alright, you can also play as a toilet in this game, which is weird too, but good lord, there's something a whole lot more bizarre about the unlockable sex doll costume, simply for the fact that it's been properly mapped to your character. The toilet just sort of bobs up and down with the lid flailing around in the wind, but an actual blow-up doll sprinting all over the streets of Steelport with fully animated arms and legs just feels a little bit off and creepy. Number 9, Gone, Tekken 3. Once you get immersed in the juxtaposing world of Tekken where deadly serious fights meet over-the-top nuttiness and a host of sentient animals, you're pretty much prepared for anything that the game throws at you, but who remembers still having to scoop their brains back into their ear the first time they saw Gon? Western players may not have known that he was a Japanese manga character, but you didn't need to know that to appreciate his pint-sized appearance, awesome moveset, and a unique resistance to True Ogre's fire attack. Check that out. Alex might be the OG of Tekken's gloved reptilian unlockables, but man, Gon has to take the top spot for the fart attack alone. Number 8, PEPSIMAN Fighting Vipers. We all love brand deals and sponsorships, right? I mean, they're not jarring or obnoxious or irritating at all. This video is brought to you by whatever hair product Scott uses, by the way, because God knows we're running out of it. But hey, that never stopped Sega sticking PEPSIMAN in the Japanese version of 1996's Fighting Vipers. There he is, punching, kicking, plugging his brand, good old PEPSIMAN. Other carbonated beverages are of course available, but if they've never been a character in Fighting Vipers, you have to ask yourself, are they even worth buying? Number 7, The Clintons NBA Jam Tournament Edition. Is there anything Bill Clinton can't play? I mean, dude apparently plays basketball on top of playing saxophone and playing away from home. Check out those skills. Yeah, President of the time Bill Clinton and his wife Hillary were an unlockable double team in NBA Jam Tournament Edition, and my lord, as if actual NBA players making these superhuman leaps wasn't hypnotic enough already, Hillary slam dunking your score into next week has to be one of the most bedazzling gaming spectacles that 1995 had to offer. Amazing. Number 6, T-Rex Need for Speed 2. For God's sake, now I know I said I did prefer Tony Hawk's giant hand character to the skate meat slab because it's more thoughtfully animated, but sometimes there's a lot more to be said for a total lack of animation. This unlockable T-Rex in Need for Speed 2 presumably went into rigor mortis 65 million years ago at the mass extinction because the legs move for no man. 2, 1, go! And I think it's amazing. Sure, if this was an actual animated dinosaur stomping around the track, that would be pretty cool, but I can just as easily appreciate the awkward, stiff ridiculousness of this entirely inflexible individual. Also, while we're on the subject of dinosaurs, number 5, Barney, Xenophage Alien Bloodsport. Barney is a dinosaur from our imagination, and he's also unlockable in bloody xenophage. What is going on there? The love heart projectiles exploding into viscera, the weird zombie arms pose, his lifeless eyes. I mean, actually, even casting Barney to one side for just a moment, this game is still totally wacko. There's something about the weird graphic style here that's actually a little stomach churning. I've never seen so much inorganically smooth flesh on screen at any one time. Everyone looks like they've been glazed. I'm actually a bit frightened. Can someone cuddle me, please? Oh, Jesus Christ, not you, f***ing hell. Number 4, Hornet, Sega Fighters Mega Mix. Fighters Mega Mix is a cross-franchise fighting game featuring dozens of popular Sega characters as well as a bunch of totally mental unlockables. Take Deku, for example. Allegedly a Mexican green bean in a sombrero, he looks more like Jim Carrey's The Mask in a state of severe anaphylaxis. And then there's Hornet. Just wow. Taken from the racing game Dayton, USA, Hornet is a car that stands upright and attacks the opponent by swinging its wheels around, accompanied by wild revving sound effects. Presumably possessed by the ghost of a kung fu master who died in a horrific road traffic accident, this is one character that Sega ought to bring back for its own spin-off prequel series, I reckon. We all need to know the in-depth backstory of this guy. Number 3, Various, Time Splitters Future Perfect. Future Perfect certainly wins first prize for having the weirdest set of characters that you don't even need to unlock. You can play as Duckman Drake, the Handyman, the Shoal, Eli Scrubs, and Calamari.
Someone's pinched me wrinkles!
And not even scratch the surface of the game's weird default characters. But then when you start getting unlocks from the missions and bonus challenges, things just get silly. Leo Krups.
Great choice!
A sock puppet.
My friends call me Spoony Legs.
Hans.
Hey, wanna be in my gang?
The undead corpse of an already butchered cow. And various Time Splitters 2 characters boxed up in action figure packaging.
I'm totally posable. Bend me in any direction.
I say, it's rather warm in here.
Me and my friends would honestly have to allow for an extra 10 minutes before every single death match, in which we would scroll through all our favourite characters and listen to their perfect one-liners.
Sticks and stones, they are my bones.
What a game, what a franchise. Sequel, please? Number 2, The Green Goblin, Spider-Man the Movie, the game. The poorly titled. I thought this game was pretty great, if a little overshadowed by its superior sequel. The movement and combat mechanics were fairly respectable for the time, and the levels and enemies were pretty diverse and interesting. But one thing I think few players expected upon completing the campaign on superhero mode was the ability to replay the entire game as Harry Osborn's Green Goblin. And this isn't just a reskinned Spider-Man model either. With a flyable glider, pockets full of Oscorp weaponry, and a whole new set of in-game dialogue, this was an entirely separate, if slightly bizarre, story arc.
Spider-Man's gonna be right behind us. When he gets down here, ambush him. This is our chance. He won't be able to fly around as much down here.
While the level objectives were the same as they were when you played as Spider-Man first time round, the motivation behind them was tweaked a little to fit with Harry Osborn's storyline, and as a result, some of it was incredibly stilted and far-fetched.
Your father hired me to kill Spider-Man. He gave me the suit.
But as weird as the whole experience was, I must admit, screaming across the New York skyline on Goblin's glider was one hell of an experience that no one saw coming. And number 1, Various, Tobal 2. Imagine a fighting game that allows you to play as every enemy, background character and creature that you came across in the campaign. Now imagine that game is called Tobal 2 and looks like this, and you're pretty much there. Lizards, an enormous dragon, dinosaurs, a chimpanzee, a chocobo, the Grim Reaper, a giant ferret, mad plant, totems that just sort of slide around ineffectively, Mohican penguin, a triceratops, power hammer, this thing, and what is going on here? You name it, Tobal 2 has it, and if it's not here, I'm telling you, it is not worth playing as. Except the car from Fighters Mega Mix. Those wheels, Jesus. And that is our list. Now, there are plenty more, so I want to see a comment section full of weird unlockables that you think we have missed out. Do not forget, as always, to like, share and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter here and What Culture Gaming in all of these places. Wow. I'm Peter from WhatCulture.com, and I'll see you soon.